All right. Welcome everyone. It is 6:34 on Tuesday, September 24th. I'm going to go ahead and call the September meeting of ANC 6E to order. I'll do a quick roll call just to get us started, although I don't think we're at a quorum yet. 6E01, Commissioner Hart, present. 6E02, Commissioner Viedma is not present. 6E03, Commissioner Rogers is not present. SMD 6E04, Commissioner Blackson is not present. SMD 6E05, Commissioner Abukalaf. Thank you. SMD 6E06, Commissioner Forrest is not present. And SMD 6E07, Commissioner Carson is not present. SMD 6E08, Commissioner Prince.
Present.
Thank you. And SMD 6E09, Commissioner Hans.
Present.
Okay, great. So what we'll do is just go into the updates that don't require quorum, that are just informational, and then we can come back to the items that require a vote. So I do, Jean was not able to join us from Councilmember Allen's office tonight, so I can start with the update that she sent via email. So this is the update from Councilmember Allen's office. They joined a DPR, Department of Parks and Recreation, and Department of General Services, hosted a community meeting last Thursday, I believe, on the 19th on Cobb Park. Some exciting key takeaways is that based on constructive community input, the playground that was originally proposed has nearly doubled in size. It will now be 4,800 square feet and will serve both 2 to 5 and 5 to 12-year-olds. That's exciting. There's a beautiful looking pavilion that has been included in the designs and been approved by the Commission on Fine Arts. Timeline-wise, construction is likely to begin in the spring, and the park is anticipated to open in early summer of 2025. There's a note that activity before construction begins will be related to preparations and final investigations for the final permit, so it may look like there's some activity before the actual construction begins. And there will be another community meeting before construction begins, so stay tuned for that. The construction entrance will be on Mass Ave near 2nd Street. The second item Councilmember Allen's office shared is that enforcement against illegally operating gifting stores which sell unregulated marijuana is finally taking place after Councilmember Allen led the council to pass emergency legislation granting ABCA enforcement authority. This important step provides consumers greater assurances that the product is safe, tested, and regulated, and provides a fair and transparent pathway to close down illegally operating businesses. And ABCA has created a public tracker where folks can follow, and I will drop that into the chat if folks are interested. The council confirmed Sharon Kirschbaum as the new director of the Department of Transportation. She had been in that position as acting director since late 2023. And on Thursday, Councilmember Allen will hold a public roundtable on the shutdown of the DC circulator, which has been rushed, with some service ending as soon as October 1st and the remaining service winding down at the end of the year. During the hearing, the committee will focus on WMATA's plans to cover some of those lost routes and transition planning for the drivers and staff at the circulator. The roundtable is not open to comment from the public, but it will be streamed live on the council's website and Councilmember Allen's Facebook page. That may be of interest to folks, especially because the Georgetown Union Station circulator line, of course, will be part of what is cut. I don't believe in the first round, but later in the year. Then finally, this fall, the Council's Committee on the Judiciary and Public Safety will hold monthly hearings on the performance of the Office of Unified Communications, which operates 911. And the first hearing will be this Friday, September 30th at 10:30 a.m. And so those are the updates from Councilmember Allen's office. I believe while I was giving that update, we had 2 commissioners join. So just want to confirm, Commissioner Blackson, can you hear us?
Present.
Thank you. And I think we have Commissioner Rogers joining as a panelist. Commissioner Rogers, can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Awesome. Thank you. Welcome. All right, so we do now have a quorum of 6 of 9 commissioners present. So I'm going to take us back to the top. Commissioner Abuklaf, if you wouldn't mind pulling up the agenda. All right, so tonight's agenda, we already covered the updates from Councilmember Allen's office. We'll get to our other updates from the Moker's team and MPD in a moment. We will talk about a DDOT notice of intent for new dedicated left turn lanes at 6th Street and New York Avenue. And the DDOT project team will be here with us to talk about that. Commissioner Abuklaf is going to introduce a resolution on street safety in his SMD in 6005. We'll have folks from the Northwest 1 Phase 3 development at North Capitol and K Streets to give an update on the proposal for their BZA amendment. Commissioner Prince, since Commissioner Blackson's on her phone, I can't make her a panelist, but she is allowed to talk. And then we'll move into a modification of significance to the design review for the Georgetown University new law building. We heard a preview of that last month, but we'll vote on a resolution tonight. ANC is going to give a brief presentation on grant guidance for ANCs, and then we'll take a look at the FY25 budget. And oh boy, Commissioner Carson's not here. And the FY24, actually Q3 and Q4 quarterly financial reports. And then finally, it looks like we're not going to have enough folks to make a quorum for our scheduled October meeting. So want to discuss whether we can move that one to October 29th. Any questions from commissioners about the agenda?
I actually have a quick question about one of your updates about Cobb Park. Did they give an estimated completion date? Was that in the update you got?
I don't know.
Okay.
We can follow up with Commissioner with Councilmember Allen's office. I was out of town and I wasn't able to join the community meeting, unfortunately.
Yeah, I wasn't able to either. Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Any questions on the agenda?
Nope, I can move to approve it if you need me to.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I move to approve this month's agenda for ANC 6E.
And a second?
Second, Denise.
Thank you. All right, so Commissioner Hans moved and Commissioner Blackson seconded to approve the agenda for the September meeting. All those in favor, please vote aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right, the motion passes 6 ayes, 0 nays. The agenda is approved. All right, Commissioner Abuklaf circulated the July minutes, I think like a week and a half ago. Any concerns from commissioners or questions about the July minutes? All right, not hearing any. Commissioner Abuklaf, do you want a motion to move to approve? Oh,
I move to approve the ANC 6D meeting minutes for the July 23rd meeting.
and a second.
Second.
I'll second.
Second.
Okay, I heard Commissioner Hans first. So Commissioner Abuklaf moved and Commissioner Hans seconded to approve the July 23rd meeting minutes. All those in favor, please vote aye. Aye.
Aye.
And Commissioner Prince, I didn't hear you,
I
sorry.
think I'm going to abstain from this one. I was away and I was sick and I had not had a chance to review them. So probably an extension is best. No
Okay.
objection.
All right, so the motion passes 5 ayes, 0 nays, and 1 abstention. All right, great. So we covered updates from Councilmember Allen's office. So we'll invite Marcus, and it looks like we had Noah too. So I'll bring you both off. Just give me a second. I can make you panelists, and I'll have to make you a co-host so you can come on video.
Awesome. Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Hi, Marcus. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Well, good evening to all of our 6E commissioners. It's a pleasure seeing you again. I'm actually not going to be giving updates today. I actually wanted to make a big announcement, more so introduce our new Ward 6 MOCR liaison, Mr. Noah Glasgow. I know I sent the email to all of our 6E ANCs, but just to introduce him to our residents as well that's in the area. Noah, he is familiar face in Ward 6. He came from our Eleanor Holmes office, if I'm not mistaken, serving as a liaison. So he'll introduce himself and share some more updates, but I'll stay on the call.
Great.
Well,
Well, welcome, Noah.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Marcus. Right, I came from Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton's office. So I've attended a few of these before. But just a few updates from the mayor's office this week. The mayor's office on Caribbean Affairs will be hosting the Art All Night event at the Carnegie Library in Mount Vernon Triangle this Saturday from 6 to 10 p.m. And the Ward 6 focused Art All Night will be hosted at Eastern Market this Friday from 5 to 10 p.m. And that's hosted by the Eastern Market Main Street organization. As Councilmember Allen's staff said, we reiterate the Cobb Park DPR meeting that was held last Thursday to discuss everything that's ongoing with that. And then DIMPAD, the Deputy Mayor's Office for Planning and Economic Development, has a survey out right now for small businesses to collect data on sizes, services, all of that stuff. Basically, the data that business owners provide will be used to identify better ways for us to tailor.
We seem to have lost. Oh, no, he's back. Your connection's in and out.
Noah may have some technical.
We got you back.
Sorry, that's my bad. That's my bad. But yeah, so DIMPAD has a small business survey out. I'm going to drop the link in the chat real quick. It's just dcsmallbusinesssurvey.com. And then lastly, Octo, which is the district's IT cybersecurity agency, is holding an AI public listening session this Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Marion Barry building over in Judiciary Square. And that's just about the ongoing increase of AI in our society and how the district is going to use that going forward, how it might regulate it and anything like that. But that's all the updates that we have right now.
Great. Thanks for sharing, Noah. And again, happy to have you with us in Ward 6. Any questions for Noah? I will just add, I realize, Commissioner Hans, you asked before about expected completion of Cobb Park construction. I did have in the notes from Councilmember Allen's office that it's expected to open in early summer of 2025.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. I'm not hearing any questions for Noah. Marcus, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, I was going to say something about Cobb Park. I
Yeah.
know DPR, they had a recording session of that meeting. So I know if you reach out to Mr. Christopher Dyer, and that's Dyer is DYER at dc.gov, he can possibly share that whole recording to give you just the whole scope of the plan.
Yes,
All right.
thank you. Thank you. Chris did mention to me that there would be a recording available, so we'll get that and we can share that with folks as well. All right, well, Noah and Marcus, great to see you, and thanks. Appreciate the update, and we'll be in touch. So go ahead. Do we have anyone from MPD here? Yes, I see somebody on an iPhone. So I'm gonna give me sorry, my computer. I'm gonna promote you to panelist and then give me 1 second. Once you come over, I can make you co-host. You can turn your video on. All right, should be good to go.
Hi, can you, Chris?
Yes, yeah, I can hear you.
Hi, this is Lieutenant Al-Ali representing the First District. I'm just going to go over, the state of affairs in the First District, specifically our crime stats. And I just want to start off by saying that, we are, again, for 9 months, 9 consecutive months, continuing our downward trend. Some of the numbers I'm going to share with you are for year-to-date stats and the last 30 days. Specifically, let's go through the last 30 days. In all the violent crime categories in the last 30 days, in every single one, which is there are 4 violent crime categories, from homicide to sex abuse to assault with a deadly weapon, and robberies were down 100% in all 4 in the last 30 days. Year-to-date, we're down, obviously, in the homicide, still 100%. We have not had a homicide. Thankfully, we had one last year at this time. Excuse me, year to date, we have 76% reduction in robberies. We're still, the numbers are wonderful. We had 38 year to date last year. We have 9 this year, and so these are. I know you guys for a while. These are huge numbers. For instance, I'll just give you an example. In PSA 102, right, is Miss Blackston's, I believe, area. They're up 15% in violent crime. I'm talking about being down 100% in the last 30, 71%. In the robberies. 76%. I misspoke. 71 total overall in all violent crime categories year to date. These are staggering numbers. I've been doing police work for 25 years, and what we've done starting in January to now is really nothing short of remarkable. So, keeping Washingtonians is definitely my top priority. It's clear that the proactive measures that we've taken to prevent and reduce violent crimes is working. It's there. It's 10 consecutive months. That's indisputable. I know there's more work to be done because people sometimes don't feel safe, but these numbers, it's remarkable. What really shows that we have a police officers working 18-hour days a lot of time with these First Amendment assemblies, with things that are going on in other districts that are pulling resources away from the First District. For instance, the 6th and 7th districts are seeing a spike in robberies and violent crime, and we're lending our officers out despite all that, and the First Amendment assemblies and all these other things. But the tireless efforts of really the men and women of the First District are making a remarkable impact over the overall and the quality of life. And I just want to say that I will continue. I've taken over since January by Commander Hall. I don't know how much longer I'll be here in the First District, but I'll continue deploying my resources in a strategic, intelligent-driven manner. I look at the algorithms, and I think it's lifting up the neighborhood and improving the lives of the people we serve in that neighborhood. That's all I really have. But again, every time I come on, I just keep talking about these double-digit reductions, and they're just getting larger and larger and larger. And for the first time that I've seen in this year, we've had 100% reduction in all the crime categories in the last 30 days and 76% overall reduction. So I'll take some questions if you have anything, but we are really, and I'm going to continue. It's not enough, but I want to keep everything in the single digits, and so far we've been doing that in the violent crime. With the property crime, we're down. The motor vehicle thefts tend to be a problem with the capital and events and things like that. But overall, again, we're down to it probably somewhere around the 40% neighborhood in the property crimes as well. And what's really hurting those numbers, right, is those motor vehicle thefts. But that's it. I really, we are committed to continue to make our area the safest. And if you guys ever get on the DCR dashboard, you'll see there's 8 PSAs in the first district, from PSA 101 through PSA 108, and 101 consistently is lowest in all PSA. So that's all I have. Chris, thank you for giving me your time to share these numbers with you and the good news.
Yeah, no, thanks, Lieutenant Alali, but very, very pleased to hear the continued downward trend. Of course, as you mentioned, sometimes folks, if something happens to them, obviously it feels like there's more crime, but it's really, really encouraging to hear that the overall numbers have decreased so much. And I guess it's a good sign when the only question I really have to ask is about mopeds, which is the biggest concern that I continue to hear from constituents. And I know you all have been doing a lot of enforcement efforts around unregistered and illegally operated mopeds. I don't know if you have any updates to share on that front, or if sort of efforts are continuing in that space.
We've launched this in I think it was back in June 2024 for the growing concerns to address these moped concerns. So we are continuing to target them, people that are unlicensed, unregistered, uninsured. We continue to do that, and we have traffic officers within the confines of the first district that basically just their mission for me is to crack down on these scooters. Now I know they're everywhere and it's kind of pervasive, but we are going after these illegal mopeds, and DC law requires them to be insured, licensed, and registered with the government. And I would say 99% of them are not. So we went after them. We are seizing them, impounding the mopeds, and arresting the individuals. Unfortunately, most of them are individuals that work for a different DoorDash or Uber Eats and things of that nature. But nonetheless, we've did an educational campaign initially, and reached out to the different institutions, and now we are at a point of enforcement at a zero tolerance level with that, because it's becoming too much. I mean, I drive it to work and I see it. It gets me mad. I just see them coming and not even slowing down for red lights and just going through red lights, not having helmets. I mean, it's at the point that we must act, and we are. So we have dedicated officers to do that, and I know that people are still alarmed by it, Chris, but we're doing with what we can, what we have. It's a nuisance, and it's an issue. It's a dangerous issue when they're on sidewalks, but we have other. My focus, like for instance, are the guns. Give you background. We have over 120 guns seized so far, and things of that nature. But yeah, that's not lost on us. The issue is right now is within. Like I said, we have all these different things for special operations with the different venues going on with Capital One, First Amendment, and the other districts that are kind of hemorrhaging some violence. And so we're doing what we can. But yeah, it's an ongoing effort, and it's not going to stop.
Okay. Yeah, no, appreciate that update. I get the question a lot, and I just want to be able to tell folks that MPD is paying attention to it. So I appreciate that. Any other questions from commissioners?
I just want to thank you, Lieutenant, for your presence and your support in my PSA, and glad to see the numbers are continuing to go down.
You're very welcome.
Commissioner Black.
Well, you're very welcome. I just want to give you a quick update. Lieutenant Simic, who was leading your PSA, has been promoted to captain. He's now in the 3rd district, so we are in the process of filling that up. But it's I'm in that sector, so I'm paying close attention to it. And I was always kind of a backup to it. But I just wanted to give you. I don't know if you had heard, but he's no longer PSA 102. He's now in 3D.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, ma'am. Thank you for your support as well.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So this, I think, happened on September 3rd. It appears that somebody smashed the window of the retail space at 400 Mass Ave. Was just curious, if I had to guess, it was reported. Do you know if you guys ever caught the person that did that or what the backstory is?
I don't, but I have my laptop up. Do you have any report numbers? I could give you the specifics if if you have that, and I can.
No report number, just that it happened on September 3rd, which was a Tuesday.
You know what you could do is that I will get together with my detectives, and they often provide case notes and updates. If you want to shoot me an email, I'll give you my email, and I'll give you an update tomorrow. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's perfect.
All right, my email is going to be ARAZ. Again, that's Adam Robert Adam Zebra .ALALI. That's Adam Lincoln Ida at dc.gov.
Okay, perfect.
And I will provide you the details on that.
All right, thank you.
Very welcome.
Folks on the line, feel free to raise your hand if you have a question for Lieutenant Alali. Not seeing anything else from commissioners.
A question for the 5th district, so maybe next meeting.
Yeah, we'll have to circle back with the 5th district. They had been joining for a bit, but because the 1st district does cover most of ANC 6E, but the part east of North Capitol is the 5th district, if I'm correct.
You're correct, Chris. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we'll circle back with them and see if we can have somebody come out next month. All right. Well, thanks so much, Lieutenant Alali. Appreciate you sharing the good news and appreciate your work as always.
Thank you all. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. Next up, we have the DDOT Notice of Intent for new dedicated left turn lanes at 6th Street and New York Avenue Northwest, which is partially an SMD 6001, but shared with ANC 2G. DDOT folks, if you could raise your hand, bring you over. Just a moment. I got Christine and George. I'm promoting you both to panelist. And if you give me one moment, I'll make you a co-host so you can come on video. George, I see you. Christine, I'm gonna make you a co-host.
Can I share my screen?
Yeah. Commissioner Abukoff, will let George take control. Yeah, you should be able to, George.
Okay. Do you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay.
And so
All right.
we'll let you take it away.
All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is George Gurara. I'm a transportation engineer in DDOT, Traffic Safety Administration. Today, I'm going to go over the NOI 24-245 TSD. This is related to the safety improvement on New York Avenue and 6th Street Northwest and the parking removal. Just to give you a little background, why we need this safety improvement, there was a pedestrian fatality at 6th and New York Avenue on June 19th this year. So typically after traffic fatalities like this, DDOT, MPD, and Vision Zero discuss the nature of the crash and potential safety improvement. This will also help us to learn the dynamics of the crash and avoid similar crashes not to happen. And we do not limit the safety of the safety improvement to crash dynamics. We look into holistically for any multimodal safety improvement. This safety improvement result of those discussion with MPD and Vision Zero response to the fatality crash. The fatality crash happens when a southbound left turn vehicle struck a pedestrian crossing this crosswalk on New York Avenue, the East Lake crosswalk on New York Avenue. The existing signal operation on this intersection for a southbound left is protected permissive phase. This means that this phase operates with a 10-second green arrow followed by a green ball. So during the green arrow or protected phase, a left-hand vehicle do not conflict with the pedestrian, as a pedestrian will get the do not walk signal. But however, during the permissive phase, pedestrian cross have a walk signal concurrently with the southbound left, and northbound traffic will have the green ball. So basically, this will have some kind of conflict. So typically, the left-hand vehicles needs to stop and then look for the gap before they make a turn. So as we understand from the fatal crash dynamics, the vehicle has a green ball during the crash, which indicate that the crash happens during the permissive phase. So we also look into, in addition to the specific fatal crash, we look into the crash trend at the location. This will help us understand if there is a trend in type of crash similar to the one resulting in the fatality. So for this location, for the last 3 years, there were 67 crashes, total crashes, out of which 20 resulted for injuries, and then there is one paid and bike crashes. So the crash types, which is the left turn, is the highest. That's 25 crashes total, left turn crashes. And the side swipe is 15, rear end 11, and right angle crash 7, and parked vehicle 5, and other 4 other crashes 4. So this shows that the left turn crash is the highest, similar to the crash dynamics that resulted for fatality. So the signal operation would be one contributing factor for this, due to this high left turn volume for these left turn crashes. So we did some recent improvement at this location. That's based on the ISIP, that's Intersection Safety Improvement Program. We did recently some improvement, adjusting the refuge island by increasing the width of the cut-through here for a pedestrian. We also add no turn on rate. We add a push button at the median, and then also some daylighting on the approach of the 6th Street. So our proposed improvement will be basically adjusting the signal phase for a northbound. So this is rotated, so north is in this direction. So the adjusting the northbound and southbound phasing. So currently, the northbound is a permissive phase. That means the left turn will be concurrent with pedestrian crossing on this lake. And the southbound, as I explained before, is a protected permissive. That means partially 10 seconds will be protected, and then the remaining will be concurrent with the pedestrian. But based on our new proposed signal phasing, these two will be, the north and southbound left turn will be protected only. That means there will not be a conflict with pedestrian. So this will help for separate time for pedestrian crossing, and then the left turn, and then avoid a conflict and increase the safety. So, and also directly respond for the fatality happened. So to create this left turn phasing, we require to have a separate exclusive left turn bay for both approach. So to create that left turn bay, we need to shift the 2 through vehicles coming on the northbound to the curb line. And to do that, we need to remove some of the parking space here. So that parking space would be around 160 feet, equivalent to 8-car space. So basically, we have a parking lot on the side. So that removing this parking space will not be as big as a problem, considering the safety benefit we'll get by having this left turn bay. And then similarly on the north side, to create this left turn bay for a southbound, we need to remove 3 car spaces. This currently, this parking space is for police vehicle only. So we're coordinating with like DGS in terms of like getting this parking space to be a travel lane. And then once we get to the L Street, it will shift back and then the continue maintaining the parking space on the east side. So another adjustment we're making here is on the southbound direction. This parking space currently is a full-time parking, but it used to be a peak hour restricted. So we're going to bring back that peak hour restricted. The reason we're doing that is like when we create this travel lane, we reduce the width of the parking space from 8 feet to 7 feet. So in that case, during a peak hour, with when there is a high volume, so we don't want to create a side swap crashes since it's narrower. So we're adjusting this to be restricted parking from 4:30 p.m. to 6:30, the p.m. peak. So those are our proposed improvements. So we looked into the operation of this, and we didn't see any significant change from the existing condition, but the safety benefit is high by having this protected face. So this NOI comment period will end on October 23rd. So once we get the comment from a community, we will incorporate into the plan and then revise. We also like coordinating with DGS in terms of getting this parking space, and then once we finalize that, we're planning to finalize the plan and then go for a construction like in the winter if the weather is permitting. If not, we will planning to start early spring. So those are the presentation. So if you have a question, you can have. Thank you.
Thanks, George, so much. If you could just go back to the map, because yeah, it's helpful to have it up, I think, during questions. I do have one question. So I know you mentioned, so the large parking lot at 6th and New York, that is slated to be developed into a new apartment building relatively soon. So that parking lot will go away. And so I'm just curious, is it necessary to, particularly in the northbound, is it necessary to have a third lane for the left turn, or would it be possible to keep it as 2 through lanes and just make the leftmost lane a left turn lane? And the reason I ask is because I think the left turn signal is really important, but I worry with the number of lanes that it will lead to folks driving very fast through the intersection, whereas now the number of lanes kind of slows folks down. So I was just curious if there's a need to add the left turn lanes, or if we could do it with the existing lanes.
Yeah, we actually looked into that option of like changing the through lane to be left only.
Mm-hmm.
But due to the high through volumes on 6th Street, the operation on New York Avenue will be very bad. I mean, in terms of when I say bad, it will create a long queue that will speak back to the K Street. So we I think we cannot do that since it's going to impact the downstream intersection.
Okay. Okay, thanks. I appreciate that. And I know it's outside the scope of this NOI. But was there any consideration given to a similar treatment, particularly for the southbound traffic at 6th and K? Because we see a lot of a very long left turn queue and a lot of dangerous maneuvers there as well. So I'm not sure if that was considered as part of this NOI or if that could be considered separately.
Yeah, so we're looking at that, but we're planning to look at that separately, since this one is a post fatality. We give it priority, and then we're trying to finalize this one. But we're looking at operation separately. So we will notify you once we get the final result.
Okay, great. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I know I had asked Kelly that. I wasn't sure if she had shared that.
Yeah, she shared that with us,
great.
so we start looking at that.
Great. No, I appreciate that. Okay. I think that answers my questions. Any other questions from commissioners?
I have a question.
Yeah,
If
go
I
ahead.
can. Thank you, Mr. Guerrero. I'm very happy to see the plans to make this intersection safer. And I think overall it looks pretty good to my layman's eyes. Thank you, Commissioner Hart, for raising the issue of 6th and K, particularly the southbound left turn, which is a longstanding difficult spot. The only thing I would observe here is that at the corner of 6th and L, which would be there's a child early learning center, Bambini, and I don't know whether parents use that place where you would restrict parking for pickup drop off. It's probably not a good site. Maybe there's a pickup drop off on L Street, which would be a better location. But I could foresee that if that might be an issue for the place, but I would certainly support restricting parking there and making other accommodations for anybody doing pickup drop off for their children there. That's all for me. I'm not sure you are aware of the presence of that daycare on the corner of 6th and L.
Yeah, I mean, so I think this parking space it used to be peak hour restricted from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. So I don't know who removed that sign, but we're trying to bring that back, but we're not removing this parking space, but it's only like peak hour restricted during the PM. I think there is plenty of space on L Street, so I think that's a better option for me, like for pick up and drop off instead of
I fully agree. No, this is a terrible place for pick up and drop off.
Yeah.
On L.
Currently, this on the 6th Street, it's not designated as pick up and drop off.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions from commissioners or from folks on the line? Feel free to raise your hand or type into the Q&A if you have any concerns.
I don't have a question, just a comment.
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's important to focus on saving pedestrian lives, and if the trade-off is just removing a couple parking spots, I would support that, and especially if this is the option, the only option that works. So I would support that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you know, you see 11 spots here, but as George pointed out, 3 of those are actually restricted to MPD currently. So it's really only 8 spots, right, George, that we're talking about that are actually open as public parking right now.
Yeah, it's only this 8 spot on the South Lake.
Okay. Okay. Well, not hearing any or seeing any other questions. I would like to move that ANC 6E express support for this NOI. So I'll go ahead and make that motion. So I move that ANC 6E support the notice of intent for safety improvements at 6th and New York as proposed by DDOT, and that we convey that support to DDOT. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Commissioner Hart moved and Commissioner Blackson seconded to support the proposed safety improvements at 6th and New York. All those in favor, please vote aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Abukalaf, I just didn't hear you, sorry.
Aye.
Okay, and the motion passes 6 ayes, 0 nays. George, we really appreciate the update tonight, and we'll follow up to get our comments in from the ANC.
Thank you for having us. Have a good
Okay,
night.
take care.
Bye.
All right, so next, continuing on the topic of street safety, Commissioner Abukalaf has a resolution on street safety in his SMD that he wanted to introduce. So I'll turn it over to you.
I can just share it. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
Are you able to see it?
Yes, yeah.
So in conversations with constituents in SMD single member district 6E05 and my observations while crossing certain roads, I wanted to flag a couple of hot spots where it feels it's unsafe for pedestrians and recommend that DDOT explore some improvements in pedestrian safety measurements. And I went ahead and submitted the traffic safety input request for these 3 points. And I can quickly go through them. The first one is on First and M Street Northeast. I personally experienced cars not stopping for me while crossing the street. Also, there are issues with cars blocking the ADA ramp and also blocking visibility. And I recommended studying traffic safety improvements in this area, like raising the crosswalk, having the daylighting improvements to block cars from directly parking on the crosswalk, and also having a flashing pedestrian traffic alert. And then the other spot, it's also very dangerous for pedestrians, is North Capitol and M Street between 2M Apartments and Tyler House. What happens is that when the pedestrian signal is on, cars can turn up north. So they can turn left from M Street, northwest on North Capitol. And typically you have up to 3 cars turning up north while pedestrians try to cross a very long crosswalk on a main road, which creates a lot of concerns. So I also recommended studying some traffic safety improvements and pedestrian safety improvements, like having some islands for pedestrians, and then also having a raised sidewalk, or studying changing the pedestrian traffic signal so it won't happen while the cars are turning up north on North Capitol. And then the last one is on M Street. A lot is happening with the construction. So this was supposed to be discussed in July, and now we tabled it because we had other items. So some issues may have changed, but there are a couple of crosswalks, and they could be changed or tweaked due to that changing construction. Conditions happen, but also same issue, lack of visibility when cars park right by the crosswalk, and cars typically treat this road as a pass through where they speed. They don't you know, pay attention for pedestrians. So I suggested also looking at improvements like raising the sidewalk, adding speed bumps, and also having daylight areas where you block cars from parking directly on or by the crosswalks. And so these are the three areas. They would be first one on First and on First Street, and the second one is on North Capitol and M Northwest, and then M Street Northeast, reconfiguring the crosswalks. Again, these are recommendations for DDOT to study these areas. We suggest some pedestrian safety improvements, but we do not dictate what they should do. They would come to us, and maybe I should add language that we added in a previous resolution where we asked them to come back to us, DDOT experts to come back to us and present on the findings of these studies or examinations for these areas and present solutions to us within maybe 1 or 2 months. I will stop and see if my fellow commissioners or anyone from the constituents have any questions or suggestions before we vote on the resolution.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner Abukoff. I think, this being your SMD, you have the most experience and have heard from constituents. I will say, particularly the intersection of North Capitol and M Street, I do think, as you pointed out, with the very long crosswalk and the left turns allowed at the same time is problematic. So I think it's important, and I think you did include in the recommendations to suggest that DDOT consider studying a left turn signal there. I guess my question is, typically we've gotten better responses if there's already existing TSIs in that we can point to. Do you know if there's tickets that have been submitted at all these locations?
Yeah, I did submit a ticket.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because that.
I see that Christine has a comment about.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it looks like, and Christine may have been reading my mind. So, Christine, go ahead.
Yeah, hey everybody. I stayed on because I heard traffic safety, and that just kind of alerts me all the time.
Thank you.
Yes, so I put it in the Q&A, but we have a new TSI list coming out October 1st for our new quarter that's starting. So new locations will be posted. I'll double check if this one on First Street is a part of that, and we can follow up. North Capitol and M is part of the short-term safety treatments with the North Capitol study. That's going through design review. I believe it's slated to be built maybe in the spring, but again, I'll confirm the timeline on that. And then M Street as well, we noted safety treatments needed to be added as part of the development review process that we have. So that should be coming. Again, I will confirm the timeline on that, and we can follow up with you. Either I can or Abraham can.
Great. And so, Christine, let me ask you, is it still helpful for us to flag these issues so you know that the ANC is supportive of those improvements?
Yeah, it's helpful for us to know a background on the TSI. If you want to submit a resolution that has more detail like this, that is actually really helpful. But it's not what you were saying earlier about having multiple TSIs in one location. That's no longer the case. So as long as we have one TSI in each location, that flags it for our review. So we don't need multiples. Actually, we tend to like weed those out if it's the same comment over and over again, just so that we capture it once.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't suggesting multiples. I just wanted to make
okay.
sure there was an existing one that we could reference.
Got it. Yep.
Yeah. Commissioner Abukoff, do you have other questions? Thank you for Christine. We'll
That is great. I'm glad that DDOT is already looking into some of these, if not all of these intersections, and I will follow up with Christine and Abraham after submitting the resolution.
Great. Any other questions from commissioners or from folks on the line? Okay. So Commissioner Abukoff, I don't know if given the additional information from Christine, if you feel like you need to amend at all, or if you think it provides the context that we need to
I
around
think
the
I
PSIs.
think it's fine for now. I think it provides the context, and then we can have follow-up conversations like regarding specific timelines afterwards.
Okay.
Don't want to delay the process again for another
Yeah.
month.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to move to introduce the resolution then?
I move to introduce a resolution urging GDOT to study pedestrian improvements, pedestrian safety improvements in single member district 6E05.
And a second.
I'll second that.
Okay, Commissioner Abu Khalaf moved and Commissioner Prince seconded to adopt the resolution recommending safety improvements in ANC 6E05. All those in favor, I'm sorry, SMD 6E05. All those in favor, please vote aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, Commissioner Hans, I couldn't hear you.
Yep, aye.
Okay, great. The motion passes, 6 ayes, 0 nays. All right, great. Well, we're actually quite well ahead of schedule, which is a nice change of pace from last month or last time we met. So next on the agenda is presentation on the notice of intent to file a BZA amendment for the Northwest One Phase 3 project, which is the currently remaining undeveloped parking lot space at the corner of North Capitol and K Street. We have Simone here with us. And if anybody else is here on this topic, if you could raise your hand. Okay. And Simone, I'm going to make you a co-host. I'm not sure if you had anything you wanted to, slides or anything you wanted to share, but you should be able to do that if you do.
Sorry, I was muted. I did send some slides, but I sent them really late. So if
I actually have the slides I can share.
Oh, great. I missed that. Yeah, if you could pull
they
it
were
up.
sent later.
Okay.
I received them later in the day. Yeah.
Give us just a moment.
sure.
Okay, and I'll turn it over to you, Simone.
I didn't realize my camera wasn't on. Thank you, Commissioner Hart. My name is Simone Goring-Devaney, and I am Managing Principal of CSG Urban Partners. CSG, in partnership with MRP Realty and Taylor Adams Associates, are the developer for the Northwest One project. I just wanted to give a quick update on the project and also information on our upcoming notice to file a map amendment. Like that, we can go to the next slide. I wasn't sure the audience of how many people were familiar with the overall Northwest One project, but it does consist, it's one of the district's new communities projects, and it consists of the redevelopment of the former Temple Courts apartments. So we've been at this project for a long time. We've been working with the former residents, with Wynn, and with Commissioner Rogers to make sure that the prior residents have an opportunity to come back to this project. The overall project is generally located at North Capitol and K Street, and it consists of approximately 644 residential units, and the majority of those units are affordable. Phase 1 of the project is complete, Phase 2 is under construction, and Phase 3 is in the planning phase. Next slide. So, as I said, Phase 1, Rise at Temple Courts, is complete. We're really proud of this project, so I thought I would share some of the photos of the finished product. These are actual photos. You often you just see renderings, but these are actual photos where you can see what the apartments look like with the finishes. We have a rooftop deck. There's a community room and community kitchen and workspace for people that work at home. So like I said, we're really excited that this project is completed and is delivered. It's approximately 98% occupied. So it's been a very successful project. Next page. Phase 2 of the project is Legacy at Temple Courts. It's currently under construction. It is projected to be completed. Our first delivery will be early 2025. Our final delivery will be approximately April, May of 2025, and it's an 100% affordable. So this project will include 212 affordable units. We have a landing page, so if anybody is interested in the project and getting more information, you can register your name and email at legacytemplecourts.com. Next. And so, as I said, phase 3 is currently in the planning phase. It's the last phase. It's the phase that is right on the corner of North Capitol and K Street. Right now, the site is zoned MU4, so that's very limited zoning, as I'm sure you are all aware. It only allows a height of 40 feet and a FAR of 2.5. So we need to change the zoning to be able to make sure that we have enough density to have the replacement units that we promised the residents that we would have in the overall development. So we are proposing to change the zoning map from MU4 to MU9. MU9 will allow a maximum of 100 feet and a FAR of 7.8. As I indicated, I'm not here tonight to request approval of the map amendment. I'm just here to give an update on the project and to let the commissioners, I already had a conversation with Commissioner Rogers. Project is in his SMD, to let him know that we will be submitting the application and that the notification letters will be going out in the next week or so to the neighbors that are surrounding this project. So that's it. That's my presentation. I will open it up if there are any questions.
Thanks, Simone. I don't have a question. I will say, really appreciate this update, and I'm excited after many years to see Northwest One moving towards full build out, and certainly think it's important to make sure you all have the density allowed to make sure we get all those replacement units that were promised to folks. So
Right.
Appreciate the update.
Thank you.
Do folks have questions for Simone?
One clarifying
Yeah, this
question.
is, oh, sorry.
Oh, Commissioner Blackson, go ahead, and then we'll go to Commissioner Abuclough.
Hi, I wanted to know if you can repeat the legacy information
yes.
going to.
It's like www.legacytemplecourts, all one word, .com.
Okay, thank you for that. And I'm also happy to see the other buildings coming up for Temple Court. I'm often tasked with that question of when will they open, from former residents who also have not been contacted to return to Temple Court. I just had 2 people contact me last week asking who do they contact to return to Temple Court.
Well, we're working with the Housing Authority to make sure that the former residents know that we're going to be completing construction in the spring, and so I just saw an email today, and I think that those notifications will go out next week. But if you have any former residents that are concerned, please feel free to reach out to me directly.
Okay, and I'll get your information from Chris. And I am a housing authority commissioner also. That's probably why.
Yes, I've emailed with you before, so it's nice to actually hear your voice.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and Denise, I have Simone's email, so I'll send that over to you. Commissioner Abuclough?
I just had a clarifying question about what FAR means. Is the floor area ratio, right? So it means like just like as a technical term, what it means on ground, like once the construction happened, and maybe like explain that to the connection of being able to build more housing units.
Sure, I apologize. There's so much development jargon, but FAR does mean floor area ratio. So it's a ratio that indicates how much of your floor area can be built up. So a 2.5 FAR only would allow you to develop to your footprint to be very limited. And so at 7.8, it's a larger footprint. And then you're going up that 7.8 ratio all the way up for the, if it's 100 feet, I'm not sure that we would go up 100 feet, but it would be for, you know, the 80 or 90 feet that we're going. So you come up, there's a calculation then of how much total density, how much square footage you have in the building. So I hope that's helpful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I did actually think of one other question real quick, Simone. Is there a plan to have any like ground floor retail or anything?
Yes. So that's one of the things we're considering while we're in this planning stage. You know, we're trying to weigh, you know, maximizing units with retail. We originally indicated that we were going to have retail in the project. It didn't really work, especially for phase one, because of the way it's oriented in the location. But we most likely will have some retail, you know, community serving ground floor retail for phase three.
Yeah, no, I think that would be great, especially on such a highly trafficked corner to have that if it fits into the plans. Any other questions from commissioners?
Commissioner Rogers.
Go ahead.
Yes. I'd like to thank Simone for her hard work, persistent work on this project, right? And it's a long time coming. And I seen that the ground, I seen that development come from the ground up, you know, and it's a long time coming for the people who just been waiting and waiting for just to move back to their community. The meetings that we had in the church, the long days of coming into this city, it's been a pleasure to see it come to a head right now. And I thank you, Simone, for your persistent work. You know.
Thank you, Commissioner Rogers. It's been a pleasure to work with you over these many, many years, and for your leadership and dedication to making sure that the existing or the former residents are able to come back to this project.
Okay.
Great, thanks. And Commissioner Rogers knows this. I actually used to live in the same building in Severna, so saw this when it was just an empty parking lot, and I'm similarly excited to see this development coming to fruition. So
well, thank you for the opportunity to present this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not seeing any other questions. So we appreciate the update, Simone, and I think we'll see you soon when the actual amendment's submitted, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll be back then.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much.
Take care.
Oh.
The Black Chris. I wanted to say, Kevin, I still have the pictures from the groundbreaking of the Rise at Temple Court that we took with the mayor and Anita Bond.
Okay.
Yeah, those photos.
Yeah, I love to have
photos. All right, thanks.
Great.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
You too.
Okay. Next up on the agenda is we have Georgetown University back to talk about the modification of significance to the design review for the new law building. We heard about this a little bit in July, and they're back for formal support. I only see Greg. Oh, there's Corey. And let me make you both co-hosts so you can come on video. And I lost Corey. There we go. All right. Well, Corey, Greg, welcome. Good to see you again.
Thank you, and thank Commissioner Hart. It's good to be here again. I think this is the fourth time I've been here on this project, possibly the last, but I wouldn't be surprised if I return for something else. We seem to be visiting you a lot. The Capitol campus is full steam ahead. I'll try to be quick since this is more or less the same deck that I presented 6 weeks or so ago. We can go to the next slide just to give everyone a review of what's going on. This is the in white is the law campus. The sort of dusty blue buildings or other Georgetown buildings around us. The law campus, as you probably all know, I imagine is at the corner of New Jersey and Massachusetts Avenues. The orange wavy building is a new building that we're constructing. We're hoping to begin demo for it in June. Why I'm here is because we're building it. As of right, we could build 110 feet. We're working through the design review process with the zoning commission to build it to 130 feet, and that means they get a say in our design. And we're hoping for your support on this. You've been very supportive in the past. We already received support for their design review approval for the building. We're just coming back with a couple minor changes. Next slide, please. Just for a quick review of the building, it's we've got nine stories above ground and one below. That's 5 stories of classrooms with atriums opening up onto 2nd Street. 4 stories of offices, and where 12 of our clinics will be housed. They serve the DC community, and 2 floors of event floors above that. Next slide. This is what it looks like from the Eleanor Holmes Norton Green. It's what it will look like. It was designed by K. Cobb, which is really exciting. They're an architecture firm out of New York. They've done a lot of fantastic projects in the building, including the Holocaust Museum. And of course, IMP designed the East Gallery. Next slide. Just for special interest to maybe people in this meeting, the building will also include a coffee shop that's open to the public. The only reason why it says the ministry there, it's not necessarily going to be the ministry, but the architects love the ministry. So they put that sign on there. Maybe, I don't know. Okay, let me get into the nitty gritty. Next slide. This is the side of the building that faces 2nd Street that was approved by the commission. We're only making one change to it, which you'll see on the next slide. Are proposing one change, and that's the addition of a sign at the top corner that will be visible down F Street. You can go to the next slide. And there may be changes to the font or size. I mean, our proposal will limit the size, but basically that's where it'll be. And we expect it to say Georgetown Law. So that's change number 1. Change number 2 concerns bicycle parking. So the zoning requirements are really ambitious in the district, and they are on a per building basis. And what they require of us is 68 racks within a certain number of feet of the main entrance. And so this per building, this is what was approved because we really, at the time we were just going with the regulations. Since then, we've done a more comprehensive study of our campus as a whole. You can go to the next slide. I won't walk through the details, but these are the results of this. We asked a transportation consultant to come onto campus, study the racks that we have. All of those all of those green boxes are existing bicycle racks, and to look at the usage of those racks when they were at capacity and when they weren't. Yeah, you can go on to the next. This is the bicycle parking we've had so far, what we have today. And the 2 things to notice about this are we have 64, a capacity of, I'm going to say theoretical capacity on the Dean Green, the former G Street, and theoretical capacity of 64 on the Eleanor Holmes Norton Green, that's the former F Street. This reads theoretical capacity because all of our racks are the racks that you see in the picture down there on the corner, which are serpentine bike racks. So in theory, you can put 2 bikes on each loop or whatever, but in practice, you really can't. So although nominally we have a total of 128 on the law campus, capacity 128, in fact, that's not really what fits there. We've had several meetings with DDOT about this, talked to them saying, look, what we think makes sense for us is a campus-wide plan, not just this, not going building by building. And so here's the proposal that we've developed in cooperation with DDOT. Basically, we replace all those serpentine racks with the inverted U racks, which is the preferred rack. And we down below it shows what those look like and the spacing between them that DDOT requested. And then what we do is we keep now 32 racks or 64 actual parking spaces on the Eleanor Holmes Norton Green. And then we add additional racks to the Dean Green. The last time we were here, we were going to add 90 spaces, or I'm sorry, 96 spaces after discussions with DDOT and talking about the fact that these racks actually hold more than the nominal capacity of the others. We landed on 90 spaces. So that's a change from the last time, but the basic concept is the same. We're adding spaces to the campus, but not in the place that the zoning regulation requests. So that's the relief that we're going to be requesting from the zoning commission at the end of October, and we're hoping that you all can support. The last slide is just in case you're curious. This is the short-term parking on the Capitol campus as a whole. Actually, 77 H Street, when this slide was made, we hadn't yet purchased it. We have now. So that's the Walmart building. So I don't have the bike racks in there. This doesn't include long-term or indoor bike parking. There's a lot more of that as well. But just so you know where we're at on the campus as a whole, because we do think about it globally. That's all I've got. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
You're on mute.
I'm on mute. I'll turn to Commissioner Prince first if there's anything. I know you've had an opportunity to meet specifically since this is in your SMD.
Yeah, thank you. I did have an opportunity to discuss this with Mr. Klass and Mr. Peterson, and I think this is a good plan. I think it makes absolute sense to look at the bike parking challenge holistically campus-wide, and I think probably the regs were developed with single businesses, sort of freestanding one-off in mind. And I'm pleased to see the switch over to the inverted U racks. So I absolutely would support this, as well as the addition of a what to my eyes look like a modest sign at the top of the new building there. So I support this, and I'll yield to others, and then we can come back and discuss how we express our support for this.
Great, thanks. Any other questions from commissioners or folks on the line? Feel free to raise your hand.
Yeah, I have one question. Just about the bike racks. Are any of them Capital Bike Share, or are they just general bike racks?
No, they're general bike racks. We have a Capital. We really want actually more Capital Bike Share, and we're in conversation with them. As part of our development of the campus, we funded an additional rack. I'm not remembering exactly. I think it's in, but it's closer to the 55 H Street building. There is currently a rack right across the street, right across New Jersey Avenue on the corner of New Jersey and F. It's a large rack, but I use those bikes, and frankly, it's sometimes filled up. So I hope we get more, and there are other racks around. I hope we can add that they can add more.
And Capital Bike Share continues to set month over month records for usage. So, Greg, I'm just curious, when you all were having the conversations with DDOT about the New Jersey bike lanes, did using some of that freed up space at First and New Jersey, did that ever come up as a potential location for more Capital Bike Share? I know this is off topic a little bit, but
no, but I'm happy to talk about it. This is super exciting. The change to that. So I think probably what you're referring to is like the slip lanes that we're closing, or and we are talking with our own landscape designers. We're going to be talking with the bids. I expect we'll be bringing something to you about what happens with that kind of triangle parcel in front of McDonough. I don't know whether that would be Capital Bike Share. It's right across the street from another rack.
Yeah, true.
So I don't know if that's optimal. But what I expect is it'll have some kind of public use. And I'll just sort of tip my hand that I'm part of a streetscape project for Georgetown, and we're really interested in developing First Street, which is kind of the spine of the Capitol campus, in a way that's much more pedestrian, that's much more distinctive, that invites people, that has more plantings, and that invites people to hang out on it. Right. And that's part of First Street, right? That's kind of the center of it.
Yeah. No, excited to hear that. And I think you know, as Commissioner Prince pointed out, y'all have been great partners, and I think the development that's been happening at the campus is really exciting, and we're happy to see it continue moving forward.
That's great to hear.
All right, well, not hearing any other questions. Commissioner Prince, I know you had circulated a draft resolution. Do you want to introduce that?
Yeah, although I see now, having seen earlier resolution here, I realize that over the last couple of months, I'd forgotten the requisite the whereas and the therefore be it resolved need to be added to this. But essentially, the gist of this is that I would like this resolution to express our support for the two items presented this evening: the addition of the signage identifying the on the top of the law building facing Second Street, as well as we would like the Georgetown to have relief from the short-term bicycle parking requirements, which would require 68 spaces within a short distance of that new building, and that we endorse the university's proposed plan, treating this on a more holistic basis across the law center and the rest of the campus with 154 spaces, 64 on the Eleanor Holmes Norton Green and 90 on the Dean Green, of course, with the, as shown, the inverted U racks.
Any
Perhaps
concerns?
could I move then that we adopt that with the requisite changes to put it in correct resolution form?
Yeah.
Discussion, maybe?
Yeah, I was just gonna say if no one has any concerns.
I have no issues or concern. I support this proposal.
Okay.
All right, well then I will move that we adopt a resolution along the lines that I have laid out in support of these two items.
And a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, I heard Commissioner Hans first. Okay. Commissioner Prince moved and Commissioner Hans seconded that ANC 6E adopt the resolution in support of the modifications to the design review as proposed by Georgetown. All those in favor, please vote aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. The motion passes 6 ayes, 0 nays, and we'll work to get that resolution signed and I guess upload into IZIS is the right. Oh, sorry, you're muted, Corey. Or I can't hear you, Corey, for some reason.
No, we're not hearing you, Corey.
Go. I think that's better, right? I think you've got time. I think it's not due until mid-October, around October 21st.
Okay, well, we'll get it in sooner than that. But
great, thank you.
Thank you both.
Everyone. I look forward to seeing you again on something else in the not
Yeah, always a pleasure to see you both.
Bye.
Bye. Great. All right. We'll move then into a presentation from Denise Victor, or I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Denise, for an update on guidance for when ANCs wish to issue grants. So Denise, I'm going to promote you to panelist, and I'm going to make you a co-host so you can come on video if you'd like. And welcome.
Oh, good. My camera, it was giving me a message that my camera was working. Hi. The Budget Support Act didn't actually make a major change to grants, but it made a significant change. But I have a little presentation. When we're talking about grants, ANCs are allowed to make expenditures for public purposes, and that is either a direct expenditure, it doesn't have to be a grant, or it can be a grant. There's only one major difference. An ANC, for example, cannot spend money directly on entertainment, but a grantee can, and that is a decision that the OAG came to when they, a couple of years ago, when they did a reanalysis and went back and looked at a 1966 budget OMB opinion. The restrictions on food and entertainment actually come through the federal procurement law, since ANC monies are part of our direct general expenditures, and so they have those restrictions on them. In addition to food and the restrictions to entertainment, a grant cannot benefit an individual. And if you think about it, it would be scholarships, giveaways. You often see grants with T-shirts for volunteers, and another is for operational expenses, which would be of organizations. So a grantee will put in for a grant, but they'll include expenses for a website, or like when we see with farmers markets, they often have their permit fees, salaries, insurance, and that category is again in the can't benefit an individual. In that case, it's benefiting an organization, that there's no public benefit to it. And I had given you all a grant I did today because I thought it was a pretty good grant, where the grantee had figured out how to support a food giveaway, but without spending money on food. And when we look at a grant, when I do a grant analysis, at first I look is there a public purpose? Does it present, and this is the new standard, a significant benefit for members of the ANC community? The old standard before the change was benefit the community as a whole, which presented problems because, it could benefit a whole lot of people, but if it didn't have a widespread benefit to the entire ANC community, and looking at all the OAG opinions, it couldn't be passed. If you had something like the Soldiers' Home, which sits on the boundary of two ANCs, you couldn't have both ANCs support an event at the Soldiers' Home. Now, if both ANCs receive a significant benefit, like they're having a film series up there, both ANCs can support it. Or in this case, there's actually 3 in 2 different wards. And it meets the public purpose test. The second prong is it's a local benefit, in that it has to benefit the persons who reside and work in the ANC community. And this comes about when we're seeing benefits that are for citywide things. A good example was an ANC-sponsored a tenant workshop for the entire city. And it was a good distance from their ANC, so it didn't provide, without also providing transportation, there really were little way for their members to get from Tacoma Park to the convention center without incurring at least a $5 transportation cost either way. They could have done a similar event in their ANC. There was also a crossover issue, which is the next one. It can't duplicate DC services. And in this case, some of what was being done, not all of what was being done at that event, was duplicated by the Office of the Tenant Advocate. We also see things with for a while, ANCs, when this would be a while, I'll show you my age, but for a while the city wasn't doing bulk trash pickup, and the ANCs would do that for their ANCs, but when the city picked it up, they had to stop because it was a city service being provided. There are certain programs the city has that you can't duplicate. So duplication of benefits is not often seen, but it does come up, and it's a specific statutory requirement. It has to be a proposed project, so it can't be like for ongoing support of an organization. It has to have a beginning and an end. So a grant can't come in and support the operation of a farmer's market. There's no beginning or end, and there's no particular program involved. It could support an education program by that farmer's market, where they give classes and train people to cook, which a farmer's market recently did, I think in 4C1B. I'm not sorry, the grants come to merged together. It has to be to an organization, again, not to individuals. The organization does not have to be incorporated, does not have to be a 501c3. that would be up to the ANC to set criteria. I mean, there are a few ANCs that require 501c3s, but most don't have that requirement. If the organization isn't incorporated, they would need to find a fiscal sponsor to accept the check. And there are a lot of organizations in the city that will do that without charge. It could even be a local business. It just has to be somebody other than an individual, except, cashing the check and purchasing and transmitting the money. And the last is overhead on any particular project can't exceed 15% of the grant amount. And that's, we've tried to, I've been here just slightly over a year. We've tried to set clear criteria for evaluating grants. I review all grants, whether or not I do the initial review, but whatever the decision is made on them, I review because I'm trying to make sure we're consistent. And soon, we just put up on our website some other resources for ANCs that have to do with ABCA agreements and community benefit agreements. We'll be soon getting a spot on the website that will have the grant decision so you can see how some were made. I think that kind of is it in a nutshell. If anybody has any questions.
Thanks, Denise. Appreciate that overview. I do have one sort of broad question. So ANC 6E did have an organization that had approached us for a potential grant. It was a while back now, and I think it was, it didn't meet some of the standards. It was one of those where it was an event that actually would take place in another part of Ward 6, and so the tie back to the local benefit wasn't clear, and so that piece was clear of the review. I think though, we have a pretty significant budget in our have not very many expenses, so I think we have an interest in using that money more effectively to support the community. Do you have recommendations, for a good way to approach that? Is there a requirement that we do some sort of request for proposals, or can grants be one-off?
You're not even required to have grant guidelines, although it has been helpful for some ANCs have set out grant guidelines. Most are not much more detailed than what I enumerated in our grant application, which outlines the criteria is on the OANC website. And it's at some point, statute requires that we provide an application for ANCs to use, although some ANCs can have additional criteria. Like I said, 501c3s, they want a specific benefit. So I think the important thing is for the ANC to decide what it is they're interested in doing. Are you going to have a grant call to any organization? Do you want to support the PTOs in local schools with projects that are related to school children? That's kind of another squishy area, not squishy, because charter schools are 501c3s. They can get grants directly. However, DCPS, because of the duplication of expenditures and gift rules, there's actually a whole lot of OAG memos on this, cannot accept money directly, so it goes to the PTOs. Or is usually if there's a project in the school, will go through the PTO. But the ANC needs to figure out what it is they want to focus on, or if they don't want to have a focus on a particular area, say set the amount of grants you want to get, and the grant, I've seen grants as high as $10,000. 500 is also common, but right around $2,000 to $3,000 is what we're seeing a lot of ANCs give, and that really is a budget issue. Two of the $10,000 grants were problematic that I've seen. One because it was for fire relief, a relief to individuals of a particular fire, and that was problematic for any number of reasons, including that it was benefiting individuals. which is again an absolute prohibition in the statute. And the other was a duplicate, was painting an auditorium at a school, which was on the DGS schedule, though not on the schedule that the parents wanted it. It was going to be off for several years. And so that was a duplication problem. But there's no, if you wanted to underwrite something with large amounts of money, I don't know how much money's in your account, but I know there's an ANC that has over $150,000 in their account. They may lean towards larger grants, or, but what I'm seeing mostly is $2,000 to $3,000 and some $5,000 grants. But again, that's an ANC policy, not our office policy. Well, now what we do, and it is in the statute that a grantee is supposed to submit their application to the OANC at the same time they submit it to the ANC. If that happens, I will review them, and I almost in all cases can get them reviewed before an ANC votes on it. A couple times well, honestly, an application got misplaced, so the review didn't happen till the day of or the day after the meeting. But it only required a minor modification. If I can get them before the meeting, I can usually work with the applicant to say, these expenses aren't acceptable. Do you have any of these kind of expenses you can substitute out? And I think virtually every grant but one that we've got, one or two that we've gotten in advance, we've been able to work so that is permissible expenses. A couple were simply, sadly, my case, I felt really bad. One was a little league team that made the national playoffs and needed a trip to Florida. But there's a rule that you can't spend on travel outside the DC area. And the other was something similar, though we did suggest that the ANC consider you can buy equipment for the team or a school sports team, because it is something that will be used over and over throughout the years and not benefit any one person, but multiple people. And try and think of alternatives, but I felt really bad about that one, the Bisons.
Oh, that's too bad. All right. Well, no, I appreciate that. And the one we have, you did review very quickly, and it just so happened it didn't work out, but which is understandable. So I really appreciate that overview. Do other commissioners have any questions?
Yeah, thank you, Denise. This is very helpful. I understand that you cannot start a public project like a farmer's market because it doesn't have an end date. But what about vacant parcels that will be developed eventually, but in the meantime, you would activate them as open public space by adding, maybe like trees, vegetation, and then that could be reconfigured later on? Or is
the problem with that is because it's providing a benefit to a private property owner. Now, if there was and that's the real problem. And there is an OAG opinion about where an ANC wanted to do some rat abatement, I believe, on embassy property, and it was very clear that the issue is even though it had a public benefit, it primarily benefited the private property owner.
Yeah, that's understandable. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Abuclef. Commissioner Blackson, I think you had a question.
Okay, I had to come off mute. Hi. I wanted to know, like, I host events maybe 2 to 3 times a month the entire year for all Ward 6 community members. I've never asked for any donations or who can contribute because of asking in the past when I was a commissioner on my prior term. The rules seemed to be a little different, what was allowed and what wasn't allowed, and mostly knowing you had to be a 501c3. Is there any way that for events that commissioners are hosting that we can get any type of funding?
The commission is able to set a budget. I mean, there's a couple commissions that set SMD budgets. That each SMD gets so much money that they can use for what they're doing. However, it would be subject to the same expenditure rules. You couldn't spend it on food. There'd have to be a significant benefit to the ANC. Now, a ward-wide event could, under the new rules, have a significant benefit to your ANC, but you have to be able to show what it is and how it will significantly benefit members of the ANC. In terms of an SMD commissioner hosting events, you would look at, I think, the way most ANCs are having is by setting SMD budgets. But the second issue with what you're presenting is if it's something you're organizing, you may be able to put it forward, but you're going to have a conflict of interest. You couldn't vote on it. You couldn't actually oversee the expenditure. You'd have to have someone else in the ANC be responsible for that.
Right. Even like just say like at Christmas time, like I buy coats and toys and things to give to the community, but I do it out of my own pocket. And just say like another commissioner could actually get the stuff. I wouldn't even have to buy it or touch the check, money, or anything. Is that possible?
No, because those are gifts benefiting individuals, and it violates the prohibition against gifts for individuals. That's the one difference. Like the council members have the constituent services funds, which are not government money, and that's how they can use have the Christmas parties. You could have an event where coats, like the farmers market or food or something, is given away, and you support it by renting the tents or renting tables and chairs or things for that event. Like this Thanksgiving donation, it's a giant food giveaway, but what the ANC is supporting for that is the tents, the chairs, the public notice, a banner, and the structural support for what's going on, but not the actual food. Okay. I'm not even clear how the actual food's being paid for. The organization raises that. It's like a $5,000 event where they give away turkeys, and they raise like $3,000 from other sources. And I assume a lot of the food they get from Safeway and Giant for free, or like Lidl has been giving out turkeys too. So.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Any other questions?
I just want, on the last note, there's also another issue. Commissioners are prohibited from fundraising for the commission or commission activities. And they have this odd statement in the statute that you can't ask for, but you can accept donations, but only up to $1,000 for a single source. And that is, so if you're having a coat giveaway, you'd be similarly constrained for asking for donations from businesses or any organization or people, because you're not supposed to be soliciting donations.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, this has been a really helpful overview, Denise, so we appreciate you making the time to come out and speak with us. And so I think, like I said, I think we have an interest in our budget's not quite $150,000, but we have money that could be put to better use. So really appreciate this overview, and hopefully
most ANCs don't have 150. There's just a few select ANCs that just never spend their money on anything.
Well, we kind of fall in that category. Commissioner Prince, did you have a quick question?
Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Denise, for coming. I just wonder, is there a public repository of grants that we could look at? Sorry for the background noise. Where we could see what has happened, maybe take inspiration from other.
Yeah, I can, before it goes on the website, I can create a share folder and give you access to it. If you, given that it's Tuesday night, if you just send me an email reminder, I can make that share folder. And once it's made, then it'll be available for anybody to look at. Usually what I do is create a duplicate of the file we have, because unlike the website, for you to properly look at it, you may be able to delete or remove things. Because if you want to download them, I have to give you certain permissions, which also gives you the ability to delete. So I create a duplicate share folder and send you a link to it.
That would be great. Thank you. I'll send you a reminder.
Okay, thanks.
Great. All right. Well, thanks again for being with us here tonight, Denise, and I'm sure we'll be in touch.
Okay, have a good evening.
You too. All right. Next on the agenda. So we have a little bit of a problem because I didn't realize Commissioner Carson wouldn't be here, and she didn't share the final budget with me. I don't know if Commissioner Hans, I know she mentioned she was going to reach out. Did she happen to share the final budget with you?
Yes, I'm going through my email. It doesn't
I
look.
have the QFR.
Yeah.
So you can do that.
Yeah, that's what I have too. But nothing.
Oh, okay.
So I guess we have to do a special meeting then. Actually, when is the deadline for the budget?
We may have to, because let me go back to Kent's email. I forget when the exact deadline is. Let me
Let
check.
me look also.
FY25 budget.
Closes on the September 30th.
Well, right. So we don't. Okay, so each ANC must approve their FY25 budget in either September or at the beginning of FY25 at the October monthly meeting.
Okay, so we
I
could
guess
do it in
technically we
October.
could do it in October.
Yeah.
We would need to make sure we do it in October though, because we can't operate.
Yeah. I know we're talking about rescheduling it. Do we know if Davina can make the reschedule time? Because that's gonna be important.
I believe she said she was available.
Okay.
If not, we can make sure we have the budget and go from there.
Yeah, that sounds good.
We'll just have to make sure we definitely do it in October.
Okay.
Okay. I do have both the Q3 and the Q4 QFRs, which need to be approved. We're a bit late on Q3. So let me share those. All right, so let me start with Q3. So, all right, here's our report. We received our allotment of $9,455. We spent $302 on communications, $750 on point of service, and $250 on other, for a total expenditure of $1,302. Here's the check register for Q3. So this reflects the remaining Zoom payments, which were made to me. We no longer, these are some older payments. We no longer have to make those since we're on the shared service provider now. As well as the regular payments to Karen for the minutes, and $250 for the rental of the space that we used for advertising at the festival that the Mount Vernon Triangle SID hosted. So that's Q3. Excuse me for 1 second. Sorry, 1 sec. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Any questions or concerns about the Q3 QFR?
No, I think this all looks good to me.
Okay. Anyone else? I don't see any questions. Okay, Ratansh, do you want to move to approve it then?
Sure. I move to approve the Q3 QFR for ANC 60, ANC 60.
And a second?
I will second that.
Okay, so Commissioner Hans moved and Commissioner Prince seconded to approve the Q3 QFR for ANC 6E. All those in favor, please vote aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
And Commissioner Rogers, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, aye. My
Okay,
microphone was on.
no problem. Thank you. All right, so the motion passes 6 ayes, 0 nays. All right, then let me go to Q4. So Q4, we really didn't have, we received another portion of the allotment, so just over $7,300 in receipts. And we had very few expenditures for Q4, just $250. And the check register, you can see the allotments received, and it was just one check to Karen. I believe that would have been for the July meeting. Any concerns or questions about Q4? All right, Ratansh, you want to make the motion?
Yeah, just quick question. So then I guess the check for this month, that will be part of Q1 of FY 2025. Is that what we're gonna do then? For Karen, sorry.
Oh, you're right. I guess we are still in Q4.
Yeah, we are. So my only thought is like, when is the deadline for this? Like, could we?
Well, yeah, I think so. The deadline for this one is. There was some reason Davina said we should do it early. I think the easiest solution is just to write the check to Karen October 1st.
Okay, so then just include it for next year?
Yeah.
All right. I mean, we could, yeah,
Yeah, we just won't be able to incur any. I mean, it's in a week, so I don't think Karen will mind if we just hold. Otherwise, if
oh well, the Q4 QFR is not due until November 15th. So why don't we just do it with the October one? Because we're doing the other approval.
Because I'd rather just get it done, but I guess we shouldn't.
Just because I find that sometimes it can get a little confusing if there's stuff from like different months.
Well, I know, but we would just not write the check in September.
Oh, that's what you're saying. Okay.
I'm saying we just write the check October 1st. But we can, you know what, we can wait. Since technically the quarter's not over, I guess we shouldn't approve this.
Yeah, I think it's better not to.
Okay. I don't know why. I thought there was a reason we needed to, but there isn't. So a good catch. Right. Okay. So never mind. We'll table that. All right. So then the last thing is, so it came up on our executive committee meeting that at least 3 of us, so myself, Commissioner Hans, and Commissioner Abukalaf, are not available for our currently scheduled meeting on October 22nd, which seriously jeopardizes our ability to reach a quorum. And so I think it would be in our best interest to push that back a week to October 29th. But I wanted to run that by folks and see if that's going to create more issues or if that date works. And I did not check if it was. Yeah, go ahead.
I was saying it works for me, Commissioner Blackman.
Okay, thanks. I didn't check if there were any holidays or anything.
Halloween is the 31st, which is not a holiday.
And Columbus Day is 2 weeks before, so I think we're good.
And I think I think the Jewish holidays are earlier in October.
The
Is that
17th,
correct?
I think. The 12th
Yeah,
and
the major holidays. There's some minor Jewish holidays in the week of that we had scheduled, but in the 29th, none.
Okay. Any concerns then from folks? Are folks available that day instead of the 22nd? I know Commissioner Blackson, you said that works. And I'm pretty sure Commissioner Carson said that it worked as well on the executive committee meeting. Okay. Then if that sounds like it'll be all right for folks, I think we need to introduce a motion because technically we've approved the schedule. So I move that ANC amend the meeting schedule to reschedule the October meeting from October 22nd to October 29th.
I second that.
Okay, and Commissioner Hans. So Commissioner Hart moved and Commissioner Hans seconded to reschedule the October 22nd meeting to October 29th. All those in favor, please vote aye. Aye.
aye.
Okay, the motion passes 6 ayes, 0 nays. Commissioner Abukalaf, would you mind just updating the dates on the website? I think we have a list of all the meetings for the year.
Yeah, can do that. Sure.
Okay, appreciate it. All right, then lastly, wow, almost an hour ahead of schedule. We've arrived at the open forum, if anybody has anything they'd like to raise.
Yeah, I would like.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just had a very nice clothes swap in the Ward 6 community of carnival rides and different things there. And I just want to share an upcoming event on October the 12th, Faith in Blue, which will be a wellness and resource event as well as gospel with MPD on October the 12th at the Mount Airy Baptist Church Green Space. And the event will be from 12 to 4. And we also have an October movie night on the 25th, same place, Mount Airy Baptist Church Green Space. And we have a fall festival on Halloween. If you're looking for something for the children to do and you don't want them out trick-or-treating, we will have a lot of fun stuff there, October 31st.
Awesome, thanks, Denise. And please do share the flyers. I try to share them on my social media accounts. So.
Okay, sure will. Thanks.
Okay. Any other items from commissioners? All right, we do have item from someone on the line. Avi, I'm going to allow you to talk. Go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so a couple things. First one is, and we had spoken about this briefly on Twitter, on the 3rd Street parking on the side of that new construction. They haven't yet put up the signs for the 2 like the 3 2-hour parking, whatever it is, and with that, the street sweeping. So it's been without those signs, and consequently, parking, you can park there without paying. But as I unfortunately learned a couple weeks ago, that does not mean that they won't ticket you for the street sweeping, which there's no signs in that stretch between the Mount Carmel Baptist Church. There's a sign for the street sweeping closer to Baptist Church, but not in that stretch where that new apartment building is.
Mm-hmm.
So tomorrow I have a hearing in the morning to contest that parking ticket because the sign was there 2 years ago when it was regular parking, and the sign that the ticket person put onto it was the one closer to Baptist Church, which is like across a crosswalk. So and relating to that, a couple months ago, I saw a ticket person running tickets over there, and she wasn't really nice. But another thing there was signage and marking. She was ticketing a car So there's a stop sign right there at the corner. And apparently she was like, yeah, you can't park like within like 300 feet of a stop sign or something to that effect. So I think that's another thing that they need to like, you know how they have on throughout our neighborhood, there's those like they do the markings that like next to stop signs or street lights where you can't park.
Yeah.
So they need to do that there, because otherwise it's a ticket racket. But at the same time, a little bit ticked off with the ticket person having a bit too much fun on that side of the street, and ticketing for street sweeping when there's no sign in that stretch.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Did you?
Yeah, the other thing was related to like parking and whatnot is the infamous situation at that alleyway 4th and a half Street on the Vita next to the gym, where cars just like love stopping right in the middle of the entrance there. As occasionally I cut through there to get to L Street to look for Zone 6 exempt parking. So I think maybe they can put like some of those like bollards, those white pole things, to deter cars from stopping there, because they just love stopping right smack in the middle there, right before the crosswalk.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Okay.
And the last thing I had was, do you know if they're going to be reinstalling the bike share in front of the Crosby that they removed during construction?
Okay. All right. So let me go through. So 3rd Street, we've been back and forth with DDOT on this for months. They know the signs need to go back in. And so I will follow up with them because it's getting ridiculous. You're not the only person that has raised that ticket issue.
With the
and
street,
I know,
is it street sweeping or?
It's just, my understanding is just in general, the signage is missing and it's created all kinds of different ticketing issues for folks. And so I will follow up again with DDOT and get an answer on that, because it's been going on way too long without a resolution there, and they're well aware of the issue. So thank you for raising that. Yeah, 4th and a half Street is a tough one. DDOT has tried many different things. Most recently, the 10-minute parking limit that doesn't seem to have had a meaningful impact on cutting down on double parking and blocking the crosswalk. We did get the improvement with the flashing beacon there for the crosswalk, but that doesn't really do anything to stop people from stopping in the crosswalk. So this is again an issue I've continued to flag for DDOT to look at additional solutions. And so I can't offer a specific solution at the moment, but no, it's something that we're always reminding DDOT, and at least I'm always reminding DDOT and DPW that we need, targeted enforcement on that block.
Yeah, I think like what they have on 5th Street, with those recently installed things, maybe that something.
It could, yeah, that's a good idea. I can suggest that. If there's something we can do there additional. And then the bike share station in front of the Crosby, that's a good question. I can follow up on that one. I don't have an answer.
Do you know why they moved the other one to they moved the current location one around the corner?
Yeah, that I do know. That's related to the upcoming construction for the new department building that's slated to be built in the parking lot there.
Okay, but yeah, it would be great if they can reinstall that one there, or even like closer to like where Bake Joint is in that vicinity, or even like across the street where there might be more room for bike share, because really the only one in our neighborhood is the one right by now.
Yeah, at 5th and K. Yeah.
So it'd be great if they can move that or reinstall the other one. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Yep, I can ask about that. Thanks, Avi.
Yep.
All right. Anyone else? Any items to raise? All right, then we will next meet on October 29th. And would someone like to make the motion to adjourn?
I move to end ANC 6E's September 2024 meeting.
And a second?
Second.
All right, Commissioner Hans moved and Commissioner Blackson seconded to adjourn ANC 6E's September 2024 meeting. All those in favor, please vote aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, the motion passes 6 ayes, 0 nays. Thanks, everyone, and have a great rest of your evening.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thanks. Bye.